The conflict for this century is centralization versus decentralization.
Yeah.
You know, we've moved on from capitalism versus communism. Now it's centralization versus decentralization. What Davos represents is an attempt to centralize. They want World Economic Forum. They want the International Monetary Fund. They want the World Bank. They want World Health Organization. They want global institutions of unelected public officials or unelected officials to impose global regulations. So you need decentralization, you need variety, you need diversity. That's what gives strength. And of course, Bitcoin is decentralization. So Bitcoin is very much on the other side of this conflict.
Despite the recent crashes, the wider cryptocurrency market grew by $60 billion before falling slightly to a current $1.27 trillion market cap. Bitcoin has taken on much of the growth in volume following high volatility in the wake of the Terra Luna collapse. In fact, Bitcoin could still see a major price capitulation, but more whales need to start selling first. Hello and welcome to Smart Tech Ideas. In today's video, Bitcoin maximalist Max Keiser addresses the biggest problem associated with fiat currency and excess money printing, along with his opinion on global geopolitical game of poker amidst the current economic scenario. Max Keiser also speaks about whether or not we are witnessing a disintegration of the previous world order. Make sure to stick around till the end of this video, where Max Keiser highlights the role of Bitcoin in this inflation bubble. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the post notifications. So without wasting any time, let's dive right into the video.
The U.S. would airlift aid to Berlin, right?
Yeah.
The U.S. would airlift aid to Biafra or other countries that were having food crises in Africa or Latin America. And you need to airlift this into this country thanks to the wonderful nation of do-gooders here in the U.S. Well, now the U.S. is having baby formula airlifted on an emergency basis due to the complete collapse, as you say, collapse of empire or collapse of the fiat money cantillionaires. You know, eventually to update the Margaret Thatcher quote. Remember, she said that the problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money.
Yeah.
I think we got to update this quote, is that the problem of fiat money is that eventually you run out of willing buyers of your fake fiat money bonds, you know. Eventually it runs out. It doesn't go forever.
Recently, JP Morgan has said Bitcoin's fair price is 28% higher than its current level, implying significant upside from here after a dramatic sell-off in cryptocurrencies. The bank said in a note that cryptos had overtaken real estate as one of its preferred alternative assets, that is, assets that don't fall into typical categories such as stocks and bonds. JP Morgan also said it was sticking to its view that $38,000 was a fair price for Bitcoin. That figure was 28% higher than Bitcoin's $29,722 level. The past month's crypto market correction looks more like capitulation relative to last January/February, and going forward, we see upside for Bitcoin and crypto markets more generally.
The incapacity to take care of oneself is being normalized across the social spectrum. So in the world of economics, nobody can work really for a living, so they're airdropped free money through these packages that come of the fiat money. You can't get baby formula, so it's being airlifted down. Soon there'll be, airlifting in lots more. They're going to have to do something about the energy crisis with gas going to $7, $8. You know,
Gasoline,
on Twitter, I predicted a few months ago that we'd see $12 a gallon of gas in 2022. So that's going to completely jam up the economy. And diesel prices are already at historic highs, causing massive problems in the trucking industry. So this airlifting of vital supplies into the U.S., it looks like this is the beginning of a big trend. And, you know, this kicked off actually the whole craze in poker, like restarted a big craze in poker. But, it's a giant poker game, and the thing about it is that eventually you've got to show your hand. You get called, and this is what happened in February 24th or February 26th, however you want to look at it, of 2022. And you mentioned the ruble there. Russia basically said, "Okay, I'm calling you. I'm calling your bet, America." I mean, that's the way it's played. Now, here we are a few months later, and the ruble is skyrocketing, and they're airlifting baby formula into the U.S. So I would say who won this particular pot in the global geopolitical game of poker? Well, it's not the U.S. We'll see what happens going forward. The U.S. has a history of innovation and rallying to a cause, and we'll see how the next hand plays out. But I think the first hand clearly was not won by the U.S. Team America.
Although cryptocurrencies have tumbled in 2022 as rising inflation and interest rates, the war in Ukraine, and a slowdown in China have caused investors to ditch assets deemed to be risky. Bitcoin is down about 37% for the year, while Ethereum has tumbled about 48%. The total market value of all cryptocurrencies has plunged from about $3 trillion in November to $1.3 trillion in May. But JP Morgan said the sell-off had hurt cryptocurrencies more than other alternative investments, such as private equity, private debt, and real estate. That suggests there's more room for cryptos to rebound, strategists said in the note.
Of course, in 2008, we had the Arab Spring, and that was along with oil at $147 a barrel. Now, recently, oil got to 137, not quite hitting a new all-time high, but it's certainly across the commodity index, the whole spectrum of commodities, they are hitting new all-time highs in lots of different commodities around the world as the purchasing power of the dollar continues to fall away. And it gets back to your original point about empire falling away. I mean, Russia before this crisis was not considered to be an important economic element in the global economy, except when you adjust for commodity presence and then adjust it for commodity input in terms of the raw material that goes into the global economy. It's in the top 5. The chips seem to be on one side of the table here. I'm looking forward to, the U.S. could adopt a Bitcoin standard. That would immediately catapult it into the 21st century in a meaningful way, and they could reassert their presence as a top dog economy. That would be fantastic. I would look forward to seeing something like that happen. Barring any making Bitcoin legal tender in the U.S., I'm trying to figure out what the plan is. Yeah, absolutely. The February 26th, as you say, was the date that the reserves were confiscated, and the dollar and the Treasury Department in Washington, D.C. kind of took the U.S. dollar away from being a tier 1 global reserve currency to being a regional currency of North America and the United States. It was no longer a global currency. So China looked at that and said, well, we kind of saw this coming for a while. That's why we've been buying so much gold for the past 20 years. That's why we have thousands of tons of gold in case this scenario was going to unfold. If China is now no longer part of the globalized world and they're going to start charging real prices for their stuff, that means prices are going to go up again for all that stuff at Walmart. Look at Walmart and Target just reported earnings for the quarter that were a big shockingly terrible, because the margins are horrible, because the stuff that they're importing from China is a lot more expensive.
Last summer, JP Morgan began giving wealth management clients access to 6 crypto funds to add Bitcoin exposure to their portfolios. That's despite Dimon's prior comments that Bitcoin has no intrinsic value and that regulators are going to regulate the hell out of it. Recently, Securities and Exchange Commissioner Hester Peirce told CNBC that the U.S. has dropped the regulatory ball with respect to crypto. She called on Congress to clarify the SEC regulatory role so her agency can take more proactive steps against crypto fraud going forward.
I'm also saying that Satoshi was the vigilante, and he brought financial justice via Bitcoin.
Well, he's brought something that can give people individual sovereignty and individual agency outside of any reliance on the government. So the Bernie Getz of today wouldn't need to go and take the law into their own hand. They would just be stacking sats. Yeah, exactly. That's the game plan, is the CBDC, to swap out all the fiat money for central bank digital money, and then you've got total surveillance. As somebody in Davos remarked this week, Pfizer is developing some kind of pill with a tracking device that would track everybody's quote unquote health in real time, to give them, as he says, total control, total insight into everybody at the same time. Okay, that's just centralization. That is centralization. It goes through a central database, and then that database is manipulated in certain ways to create more quintillionaires and more cash flow for the quintillionaires. And that's the plan.
Additionally, data from crypto markets tracked an uninspiring day for Bitcoin, with $800 of losses coming in a single hourly candle several hours before the start of trading. The largest cryptocurrency had avoided volatility on the release of minutes from the United States Federal Reserve's Federal Open Markets Committee, FOMC. These had avoided any serious divergence from already known facts about economic policy, and despite concerns that anti-inflation measures could lead to a recession, no mention of the word recession appeared in the minutes. Even legacy markets remain comparatively cool, and analysts are describing the situation as eerily calm based on volatility data. For the meantime, however, on-chain signals meant that there was likely no impetus for significant price changes. Analyzing on-chain volumes, it became clear that neither buyers nor sellers were prepared to make a bold statement at current levels. Previous periods of high sell-side Bitcoin volume preceded periods where buyer volume started trickling in the following weeks. But now, we're seeing that seller volume is declining over time, and no BTC buyer volume has come in following the high seller volume. So, what are your thoughts about excessive money printing, inflation, and their impact on Bitcoin? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon with the next video. Thank you so much for watching.